Howdy plebes, and welcome back to WarGame Red Dragon with another deck review or overview again. A couple of people in the comment section of that video, and a couple of people on Facebook and actually on other places, asked me to review, or at least take a look at the Japanese deck I used in my latest multiplayer video, and the link to that will be in the description. And I used a Japan Motorized deck, or a Japanese Motorized deck. Never used it before, and after one game, totally sold. As you can see, I have a couple of decks, especially for Blue Fur. I have a couple for Red Fur. I've been making more and more. But for Blue Fur, I have a lot of decks, ranging from Armor to Motorized to Airborne. But this is probably one of my new favorite decks. The Samurai Sushi. I'm not sure if that's offensive or racist. I hope not. Anyway, let's go and take a look. Of course, first, we're going to take a look from top to bottom. This time, I won't skip the infantry. I'm just going to go logistics and all the way down to the planes. So, I guess there's not much to ask at this point or to explain. So, yeah, let's go. So obviously, right away, Japan is, especially in like the Cold War. Well, it's like the 1990s period, and Japan is more of a defensive nation, at least in this game. So, vehicles usually are more like pointed towards an armor and towards having well, you could also call the Japanese tank the gas guzzlers, and that's one of the names we give them in our TeamSpeak. But I'll get to that in a second. Basically, Japan focuses on defense and speed to get around their island quick, I assume. So to get started off, always take a supply truck. Now, there's only one truck to pick from, and the good thing is you get 18 of them. I mean, they only have like 500 supply, but you have 18 of these trucks. So, you know, that is definitely worth having, and without supply trucks, you don't have a real armory. Moving on to the helicopters, we have the KV-107 Shiragasi. I think this is like the American Prague helicopter, which is then transferred into a supply helicopter. They come with 1,000 each, and you can get 10 of them, so that's basically another 10,000 added supply. Of course, an FOB or a FOB. And I prefer to take the Hayate, which costs 10 points more than the Mitsubishi. But if you do a little comparison between these two, you can see that the speed for the Hayate off-road is a little bit higher, and for those, 25 kilometers, I think it's worth paying 10 more points. I mean, what is 10 more points in a greater scheme of things? And the next one is also pretty obvious. I can get an armored CV, but it only has one armor, and it's not even amphibious. So I don't see why I would ever get this thing. I mean, yes, if infantry would charge me, I guess this vehicle makes more sense than a Hayate or a Mitsubishi. Otherwise, I do not see why I would spend 20 points on this thing. To be fair, it is even faster than the Hayate off-road. It still goes 150 on-road, but I don't know. I don't see the extra 20 points added to that. So I went for a infantry CV in a helicopter, which makes, you can move your CV across quickly. I think this one goes 20 kilometers an hour. And you can like put them in the wood and save them somewhere like way behind, and it's going to be hard for the enemy to find these guys in the town. That's why I really like infantry CVs that come in helicopters, just because you can hide them pretty well in towns or in forests, and because they're a small group, they're pretty hard to find. Alright, moving on to the infantry. For Japan, this is probably my favorite tab, at least for the motorized deck. Let me start at the very first unit. I always build my decks from least costing to most costing units. I hope I did that correct. 35? Yes. And I don't know. I think it's OCD. I just prefer having it in-game this way. So in-game, I know that like my most left unit is like the cheapest. The most right is like the most expensive. So when I have to buy a tank really quickly, I don't have to like figure out like which tank is actually more expensive. I actually know, by order which one is like the most expensive, which is like the most cheapest one to get. So, with that explained, I'm gonna butcher these names, by the way. Shuju Buntai 90s. These are the standard regular infantry. There's 10 in a squad. They have regular training. However, they're armed with an M2 Gustav, which has pretty decent range. It's like the standard ATGM or the standard rocket launcher range. Damn good accuracy for like a normal train, like regular training, like line soldier group. Assault rifles are decent, and they have a decent MG. You know, it has to be static though, so or stationary, so you can't actually do like moving, fighting with the machine gun. But then again, these are just the, you know, frontline troops, the guys that are like, you know, your cannon fodder if you need cannon fodder in this deck. You really just want to like throw these guys basically out there, which, I mean, you could get a squad of these Shuju Buntai, but I don't see why. I mean, for 5 points, you get an entire fucking upgrade on your launcher. So I don't see why you would go for these 5 guys, like for these guys who are 5 points cheaper, if you can just get them for 5 points more, you know, expensive. And I prefer bringing them in the Humvees, because these Roku WAPCs I have an idea for later. So I got 2 squads of these on Veteran, which gives you 32 of these in very fast and mobile Humvees. These Humvees go 150 on-road and 80 kilometers off-road, and they have a very nice autonomy of 1,000 kilometers, which is pretty useful if you're playing on big maps and you have to cross a large part of the map to get to your destination. Next are the Chew Mats. Now, this is kind of an iffy point. People are like, oh my god, these are so bad. They're like the worst range of any like dedicated ATGM team in the game. That's fine, but look at their accuracy. Look at the AP power. I mean, in that game I played, these guys were doing their job like fucking pros. I mean, if the enemy get close enough, 2,500 meters is still a lot longer than any tank range, like any tank gun range in the game, if I'm not mistaken. And accuracy-wise, more than every second shot. It's like 6 out of 10 shots are going to hit the target. Well, I mean, according to the statistics, obviously. Whereas like Red 4 usually has like 40 or 45% accuracy. So this is a pretty good and accurate weapon to use. I get 1 card of these, and then I get 1 card of PSAMs, which are basically the Stinger Cs. But then for the Japanese, which are amazing with 70% accuracy and a pretty good range on the anti-helicopter. I mean, against airplanes, like, who really wants to use Stinger missiles against planes? I mean, it's possible if they get close enough, I suppose. But also bringing those in Humvees. Now, here comes the interesting part. These are the Hudao Ren, which, if I'm not mistaken, are paratroopers. They have shock training. Sadly enough, there's only a 1975 version of these guys, but they're pretty damn good. They have a recoilless rifle, decent machine guns, and their stats on the assault rifles are pretty interesting. Look at the accuracy there. This is also CQC, so this is also going to be able to be used in the city very effectively. I get 16 veteran squads of these, and that are so wow, I didn't even know what I was trying to say. That recoilless rifle, the accuracy and AP power, you know, it might leave room for improvement, and that's why maybe a 90s would have been amazing. But if you look at the factors that this is just, it's an RR on a paratrooper team. For 40 points, you get a Huda Ren in a grenade launching APC. So you have the anti-infantry covered in the APC. You have the decent close range anti-tank cover by the RR, and you also have a city fighting unit with the CQB or CQC machine gun. I mean, this is a pretty decent unit for 40 points, and you can get it for 5 points cheaper if you really want to get a Humvee. But the speed of the APC is also 150, and that grenade launcher is deadly against infantry. It is very, very deadly. I got 2 squads of those, and then I'm kind of iffy on this. I'm not sure if I should sacrifice 1 unit and get 2 Kutai 90s, because these Kutai 90s are damn good. They're elite training. I bring them in a helicopter just to have them a little bit more mobile. I could bring them in a Humvee, save 10 points and get 2 more on elite, because this is only 8. This is 10. But I'm not sure if it's worth. I really like having an elite unit in a helicopter, because you can quickly send them somewhere to like fill up a gap, or to maybe like actually take advantage of a gap in the enemy lines, get to a point first, and especially in the beginning. And their weapons are they're pretty, again, city fighting, a very good M2 Carl Gustav, basically the same levels of, it's literally the same like ATGM, or sort of the same RPG on the standard light infantry as that you have on the Kutai 90s. It's the exact same stats. So you can see that the Shujubuntai have a very good card here, or the Gutaids have a very bad card compared to the, half the units that are half their points, because these are only 15, those are 30. But for 40 points, you get a paratrooper squad with an APC, and yeah, it's scary. There's definitely some stuff you can do with this APC, especially because it also has a decent range of 500 kilometers. So moving up to the support, the Japanese are, especially motorized, mechanized gets the gun tank, which is basically like a martyr kind of esque vehicle with like a double AA gun or double autocannons. But as a motorized, you don't get those. You're stuck with a little bit weird vehicles. Personally, I always like to go for a mortar vehicle, so I got the 107 over the 81mm mortar, just because you have more range, more AG power, and I mean, you can fire less per minute, but I always look at like the shell size, and especially that range is going to be pretty important if you're trying to, like, barrage people in a town or whatever, so you don't have to get too close to them. Up next is the Kinsum Closed Arrow, which is a prototype unit, and which is basically a Stinger C on top of a vehicle. You get 8 of these on a very mobile platform. These are helicopter destroyers. 8 missiles, 70 accuracy, 70 stabilizer, 5 AG power. So basically, you just need two to hit, and anything will go down. Very impressive. They're infrared, so untargetable by radar or SEED, and you get 8 of them, and they're really, really decent for 55 points. Sad enough, you can only get 10 of them, but they're definitely worth having. Moving on to the Kairyu Hawk, which is the standard Hawk that the Americans have and the British have, I believe. There's not much we're going to say about this. Very good range on planes, 9 AG power, accuracy on 50%. The only downside of this thing is that it's still very slow. It's very slow off-road at 25 kilometers. 110 on-road, which is, decent. It's like the standard speed for a tracked vehicle. And the fact that these Hawks only carry 3 missiles, if you have a 50% accuracy, that means one of these 3 is statistically, I can't say the word, statistically, there we go, sorry, I'm not American or English, statistically going to hit. But the other 2, it's kind of like an on-off, like you might hit 2 out of 3, but the odds are, it's hard to say. Like, you really do need supply. Like, if I call one of these in, I usually also call a supply truck with it, so I can at least give it 1 or 2 more missiles right from the get-go if it does start firing. And that very slow off-road speed, this is what kills this thing. If you want to get it into a force, it takes a year and a half to get there. Anyway, last but not least are these Tan Sam short arrows, which again are infrared, so SEED has not much on this deck. Besides the Kairyu Hawk, you are perfectly fine. You have 2 infrared AA, and you get 26 infrared AA, which is pretty damn good. Very, very amazing range. I think you can outrange every helicopter in the entire game with this. Even if this was radar, I'm pretty sure you could outrange the SEED on the Akula. So, but it's not, so it doesn't really matter. This is a very good AA platform. 40 accuracy, yeah, it's not amazing, but it's definitely, you don't really need accuracy, because like you fire 1 missile at a helicopter, and he's gonna be like, oh shit, and it's gonna either try to pull back, or if he continues flying, you're going to have at least another missile off before he even is in a position to fire at you or in your range. And at that point, if you hit him, he's going to be stunned, messed up, panicking. So you only need 2 or 3 missiles really to kill or at least disable an enemy helicopter. And you can get 16 of these on trained. And they're pretty damn good. Like I said, that's a very good range against choppers. Planes, yeah, for infrared, yeah, it's not terrible. 65 points, I'm not sure what we're asking for here. The very good thing is it has a very high speed and a decent speed off-road, so you're at least in for a very mobile vehicle just as much as the Sam Closed Arrow. Moving on to the Gas Guzzlers. For Japan, these tanks are interesting. Some of them are flat out decent. But usually these things run out of ammo or run out of fuel before they get somewhere. As you can see, 400 kilometers, 400 kilometers, 400, 400, 400, 200 on this, and 200 on this. So, yeah, you're really stuck with having to use those resupply vehicles to basically get these tanks to the front. And that's why Japanese armored is not really a good idea. I have in my deck the Nana Yonshiki C, the E, and the G versions. The C, for 40 points, I have 21 hardened of these. I can't recall ever calling these in, actually, in the last game that I played. You know, they're 40-point tanks. I don't know what to say about them. 6 armor. Pretty good accuracy and stabilizer, though, for, you know, a 40-point tank. But, yeah, that's about it. But the Nana Yonshiki E's are a whole different thing. Gas guzzlers, they are. Armor, they don't have a lot of. But a 65% accuracy with a almost 2.3 kilometer range and a 55% stabilizer on 16 AP power for 50 points? What? It is amazing. So in that case, it's really a good tank. It's just that you'll need a helicopter to resupply a group of these before they get to the front lines. But when you do have one, these things are damn good for their price. They're very good again in a defensive position. Like I said, you know, the self-defense force of Japan, defense is all, and armor-wise, fuel-wise, this is terrible. But gun-wise, this is an amazing tank for just 50 points, and you get 32 hardened of these as well. So damn impressive. And last but not least, the favorite in my motorized deck for armor, the Nana Yonshiki G. 8 frontal armor. Again, amazing stabilizer, accuracy, AP power. For just 60 points, you actually trade in the machine gun on top of the Nana Yonshiki E for a Mark 19 noob tube. This is an infantry killer right here. You can only get 16 of them on trained. You might consider getting 10 on hardened. I'm not sure. I might switch that to hardened. Yeah, I'll actually do that. 10 hardened or 16 trained, but you know, this is an infantry killer and a tank killer as well. You know, especially when this is hiding in a forest with that accuracy, you can even tell it to go moving because it's gonna score direct hits with every second shot while it's moving, which basically turns it into a Japanese leopard, which is pretty damn interesting. Besides the fact that they have absolutely no armor and they're guzzling gas. They're basically like, you need like a direct fuel line for each and every tank to a gas station if you want to keep it moving. Moving up to the Recon tab, also a very amazing, interesting unit in here. The Hachi Nanashiki. I just have this in here because it's a ground recon unit. It's a little bit better than the Mitsubishi because it has an actual 25 millimeters. You can just use it as like an ad hoc anti-air unit if you wanted to. I'm not sure. I just prefer having like an actual gun over like a 50 cal. Then I have the JSDF Rangers, which is just like a normal Ranger squad. There's not much to say about these guys besides the fact that they have like weird. I'm not sure if that's. Oh, actually, no, that's face paint. Never mind. I thought it was like a mask. I'm not sure if I should take these or I should take the OH6D. But I mean, these are pretty good. Come at a KV107. And just for the fact that they're shock, you might be you might use them if you really wanted to like hold a town or whatever. But it's just basically giving you like a little bit extra infantry in case these infantry can't do the job. You get another 8 of them, so that's not terrible. And you do get them in a helicopter, so they can move around the map pretty quickly. My most favorite unit in this deck, however, is the OH1 Ninja. This reminds me of a James Bond helicopter. I think it's from GoldenEye? I can't remember where that stealth helicopter... Yeah, I think it's GoldenEye where they steal the stealth helicopter, like the French stealth helicopter from like a air show or whatever. This Ninja is armed with 4 Stinger Cs, basically. It's a pure anti-air helicopter. It's a Recon. Its stealth is good. Its size is very small. It has exceptional optics. It's very fast. This is a freaking Recon killer. Actually, in the game I played, I couldn't show you the end score, but one of my ninjas killed an Su-27, 180 point, or 150 point, sorry, Russian fighter. This thing killed a 150 point Russian fighter with a Stinger missile. It is amazing. 70 accuracy means it's basically going to destroy a helicopter with one shot, especially these like Russian mid-line, like the Mi-2s and the Mi-3s, like Recon helicopters. You can actually use this also to like stop an initial rush. Let's say you have an enemy sending in like an Mi-24 with like a VDV squad in it, or setting up like an Mi-24 to like splurge your units underground, like an actual attacker. You can take it down. It's very good, and I cannot stress how much fun this thing is to use, because it's hard to shoot down. It's hard to see with good stealth on a helicopter. I mean, that is pretty interesting. I really love the look of this thing, and it's probably my most favorite unit to use in this deck when it comes to airborne vehicles. Moving on to vehicles, not much to do here. I wanted to go with this, but it only has 250 kilometers, so yeah, why not? That's not a good idea. So instead I went with two of these Mitsubishi Chumat vehicles. Decent accuracy, decent range, very good AP power. They're just 20 points. I mean, why not get 20 veteran of these if I can, right? Just put them in a tree line. I don't know, just adding to the chaos enemy will like run into if they decide to attack your alliance, which means they might consider not attacking, or even better, they waste like a cluster bomber on a 20-point Jeep to kill one or two of them, and you hopefully shoot it down, making them waste a 90 or a whatever point jet. So it's always a good idea to have like cheap A2GM vehicles on deck if you have them. This one is, I'm not sure if this is considered newbie, but there's not much else, like there's not much space anywhere else. I mean, I could get like an actual helicopter somewhere else. Actually, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get you in here, and then you, and then you, and I only need one of these really. I thought these were like gonna cost 2 or 3, but it only costs 1, so that's good. Moving on to helicopters, like I said, however, the AH-1S, it's an 80-point Cobra. These toes, don't look at them, they're pretty terrible for 40 points. These ones, however, you use them to great effect. They have tow missiles, a Vulcan minigun, and the Hydra rockets. These are splurge, very good against like bunched up troops or infantry. The Vulcan obviously speaks for itself. And the tow, which you get 8 rockets per chopper, a 60 accuracy, and a 20 AP power. They're very fast helicopters too at 280. These are killers. You can get 15 hardened. It's just, what is this even? Like, these are amazing helicopters, and I only called in 1 or 2 in the game I played, and I actually called in 1 from the beginning, and just calling in 1 of these helicopters made me basically win the town, which won us that part of the map. So these are very, very valuable. You can get 15 of them, and they're only 80 points. Yes, these are pretty good, especially because they're also small size, and the autonomy on these is pretty good, so you don't have to like worry about the fuel too much all the time. And yeah, these tow missiles, I don't know why you would just want a tow. If for double the points you get a better tow, you get more rockets, you get even more rockets in the form of Hydras, you get a Vulcan minigun. I don't even know why you would want these really. Moving on to the last tab, the air tab. Not much to choose for Japan, however that doesn't mean that's bad. I take these old Sabres just because they carry napalm, and because it's trolly to have like 5 napalm bombers in the deck. They're actually not that terrible. They're decently fast. It's just that, you know, if anything AA-wise pops up, this is not going to live. But that's not the point of these things. The point is to drop a napalm, or even drop like 3 or 4 napalm bombs, like you have like 3 or 4 planes drop napalm on like a forest line, and you'll probably lose 1 or 2, or maybe even 3 out of those 4. But if you have if you manage to drop the napalm and that way stopped or heavily like burned an enemy attack, that was totally worth it for 60 or like 180 points. Moving on to the F4EJ. This is a nice colored Japanese, well, imported obviously, fighter. The Phantom, F4 Phantom. It's not amazing. The only reason I have this in my deck is because you can get 3 elites, and it's definitely better than this piece of garbage. So I figured, why not have this in there then? Next up is the F1, which is basically a same. It's like a Harrier bomber. I'm not sure. Wait, they're called laser guided bombs. I didn't even know that. These are laser guided bomb droppers. They're basically like the Nighthawk, but less powerful. But they'll still do a lot of damage. And infantry, yes, they'll get destroyed by these things. Light vehicles, they get destroyed. If you want to take out a CV, drop one of these on it, like a light vehicle CV or an infantry CV, drop one of these and it's gone. And they're pretty quick at 1,000 kilometers with 20% ECM. They're not even that terrible. And you can get 4 rookies, and I prefer having rookie planes if I can, especially for bombers, because you'll lose a lot of them. So moving on to the F4, the Kai, which is basically an up version of the J version. It also comes with some bombs, but then again, you know, Japanese Air Force, it's not amazing. The only thing that's really good is the F-15. You get 3 F-15. You get 3 of them. Decent AA. It's just that, you know, Japan is really kind of lackluster when it comes to actual bombers. I guess this F1 is probably the best bang for your buck with those cell missiles. But then again, Japan Air Force, I haven't really gotten to use it to great effect. These F-15Js are damn good though, with the, you know, 4,000 kilometer speed, 40 ECM. But yeah, other than that, Japan Air Force, I don't really know. And you could say, like, why do you have these? If you delete them, you get like 5 points. Yes, but I don't know where to spend them. I don't want to spend them on this. I don't want to spend them on this because I have enough here. Tanks, no please, because these are all fine. Support is filled. So is infantry. So is logistics. I don't even know like where to I don't like all these cheap shit ass things. So that's why I have an extra plane in the form of the like an extra fighter in the form of this plane, instead of like more units. So that was my Japanese deck review. Feel free to like give me any tips or comments or suggestions like to me to edit my deck. Or add to my deck, because I always do enjoy, you know, changing decks, making decks, editing decks, and in the end, I'm not a wargame master, and some of you are, at least like the way you guys like talk about like single player, multiplayer stuff. I know some of you are way better than I am at the game. So thank you for your input, thank you for watching. Don't forget to stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
You claim this love that you never started. Once destroyed, a broken heart that was already shattered. Holding on to what we have, you take us to the end.